And I remember calling her and saying, man, I just wish like I get, I can get fired and just work full time. Well, 2 hours later, I got laid off. She's always called me her closet girl. So she would send me to all her clients. She was working with like Gucci and all the housewives of Atlanta. And I became known as the closet girl, right? And normally every client that I work with, I'm like, how do you feel when you walk in this space? Whether it's their pantry, whether it's on that farm, whether it's in their closet, I always hear I'm overwhelmed.
Because there's a gap, there's a cognitive dissonance between,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing in my most intimate places and what I'm doing in my public
Mm-hmm.
places. Welcome to the Omi Show. I am Omi Bell. Today I am with, so we bringing her from behind the scenes. She's usually producing the show, but now I bring her from behind the scenes because she has her own genes and her own talent that I think everyone in the world should know about. So welcome to the show, Shaniece Jones.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I was like, she's asking me.
Well, I mean, I don't even know why, because you've been on all these other shows, you know what I mean? So it's like, hey, why not? You right here.
But
Why would I
you're
not?
on me. You are on me, okay? You are on me. I don't think
What
you
does that
understand.
mean?
One, first of all, it's because I honor you, okay? Like, and I appreciate you
Thank
so
you.
much. And like the way that you show up in the world, like it's just, I don't know, I guess it's different because I see you in like a different light. So like when you ask me, it just says like you trust, like, the way I think, the way I feel, all the things. So like it was just, it was an honor. When you text me, I was like, oh, really me?
That's funny. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for saying yes. And I think, I work with amazing people, and so I think it's worth it for the world to hear from those people that work with me. So while Shanice is the producer of the Omi Show, she also has an entire movement, is what I would call it, called closet therapy. And just like there's so many layers to who you are that I think nobody knows either. Like medical school and, like, you know what I mean, like fashion, like all these pieces that we're gonna jump into. But I think that a lot of times, like when I was building my business or whatever, people would have these like teams. I'm like, how are they doing this? Right? Like, how are they doing the things that they're doing behind the scenes? Right? Like, you see their brands taking off, you see all these things start popping, and I'm like, how in the world? Like, who did they hire? Who do they know to hire when? So the majority of today's show is going to be about you and your talent, closet therapy, all these things. For the first few minutes, it's really interesting too. Like, how do we even meet?
Ah, yes.
So, because people out there, if you're building a team and you're trying to figure out who to hire, when to hire, that kind of thing, sometimes you'll meet people where you think it's one thing that you need, and then you're like, wait, this person is so great, I can't let them go. I'm gonna figure out what else I need that they can do. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the crazy thing. So I put out on social media, I was looking for an EA and an executive assistant. And I did this whole social media thing with it. It was one of our director programs at the time. It was her idea to do it that way. So I'm like, bet. Then we did all these interviews of all these people. And Shaniece was actually not my top pick for the EA, right? But I'm like, I want to work with her. Like, I think she's dope. I still want to work with her somehow. So I don't even know. I don't even know from there how we got to brand, how we got to the head of brand. How do we?
Honestly, I don't. It's crazy because we both sitting up here thinking like, what was the way that we got there? But I think when you have put out that post, like I was still in the process of like, building. Like I've always had like it as a side hustle, and we could dive more into that, like what I'm doing now as like my business. But like when I seen it, I was like, oh, she's dope. Like, and she's in venture, like capitalist. Like she's like, I just your vibe, something about like that post. I was like, oh, she's dope. Like I want to like serve her. Like I want to support her vision. And I was like, I ain't interviewed in a long time, and you had to pitch, and I've never had to pitch. Like that was something like how you started your business with a pitch competition, and you had to do multiple pitches. Like it was like you got to practice, you got to do this, and I was like, bet, like I'm gonna take a chance. Like I'm just gonna see if I can actually do this. I've never pitched anything, and pitched myself at that, like which is super uncomfortable for many people. And I like went in and I like did it. And let me tell you something, okay? If you don't know Omi Bell, okay, she's not an easy person to please, okay? She was asking the questions. All right, the team, it was like when you got to the team level, it was like cool. But then it was like, okay, now we're gonna bring in like our CEO, and I was like, oh snap! But like it was just something. I think we vibed, and I think when you know, like, oh my gosh, like there's something in that person, like, and that's how I felt about you. I was like, there's something there. Like I know, like we will be great working together. And when we got to the EA part, I think I had went to Japan or something, and he was like, nah, I need somebody that's on. And I was like, and he was like, actually, like, what do you think about this? Like, and I don't know, we were having a conversation. And he was like, you know what? Like, give me a few days. I'm gonna think of something of how we can still work together. And then the head of brands came to your mind, and you were like, what do you think about this? And I was like, oh my God, I love that. Like, I'm in fashion. I'm in this. Like, I like going after stuff. Like, I don't care if somebody tells me no, I'm gonna try anyway. You know. So that's how we started like working, and yeah.
Yeah, and so it's funny because I didn't even know anything about having a head of brand or brand manager until working with Nike. And then I'm like, oh, I see the power of somebody that has of being the head of a brand. You know, like that they have head of brand for multiple brands. So you might be head of brand for Nike Women, you might be head of brand for Jordan brand, you might be head of brand for, you know what I mean? And so for Converse, you might be, and then you could break down as a head of brand for different parts. Head of brand for Converse women, you know, like basketball, like, you know, like things like that. And so I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. And I had so many things coming through, so many speaking gigs, so many like people trying to see me, meet me, like, and what should I go to? What, like, we had all these different deals popping, and I'm like, I need somebody that knows this world. And you had been, you had worked on styling for Kanye West, you had worked in like fashion, you had worked in podcasting, you just had such a vast like experience, so many experiences, and I'm like, nah, I need her on my team. You know what though? I was talking to George Andes. So George Andes is my EA now. By the way, whoever that person was that I hired, I have no idea who they are, where they are, any of that. They are not here. They did not work out. I did not make the best decision to hire that person that was the EA. And then it was like another EA, and that didn't work. And then George Andes is my EA now, who's great. So, but you know what? So anyway, let me think, because we only got 3 minutes left in this segment. I want to share this full thought. So maybe, I don't know, earlier this week, I was just thinking about how, like, okay, well, I was dating this person, or like seeing this person, or getting to know this, talking, whatever stage you want to call it. And, you know, like these days, I don't know. And I was thinking, but then it didn't work. And I was like, oh man, like now I thought to myself, I need to activate in some other way. I need to get on a dating app. I need to start being out more because I'm actively looking for my person, or my person is looking for me, and I want to be in a position to receive that, right? And so, and then you know what? The message I got from God was, I will bring him to you. I will bring it to you. I will bring you what you need. And so maybe 2 days later, I had a conversation with George Andes. And, you know, just in general, I was hopping on with him to talk about, you know, some stuff with social media, whatever. And he was like, hey, I just want to tell you. It's like, I really just want to tell you how, like, I appreciate you and how I see your heart. Oh, God, it's making me emotional. So we started this whole conversation about how he wanted to work for me. So the way I met him was, he actually, when I published my book, he had sent me, DM'd me on Instagram, these, like, graphics that he had come up with. He's like, oh, I want to work with her. So let's randomly DM me these graphics based on the book. I didn't respond. So he's like, oh, okay, well, she didn't respond. So then a good friend of mine, Dr. Sheena Howard, she had found him and started working with him, right? And so probably like after one of the EAs I had didn't work out, I hit her up like, hey, like, I'm looking for an EA. Like, do you know anybody, any services or whatever? She's like, yeah. So she sent me his company. And then she went to him and told him, hey, like a friend of mine, she's looking for an EA. And it was me. And he's like, oh my God, I want to work with her. Like, I've been trying to work with her. So he said, literally the night before we had the interview, he prayed, like, God, I really want to work with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day we had the interview. And now, like, he's working with me full time, like that. But it's just, but that's an example, I think, of like, God is like, I will bring it to you. Right. I think all the things we've been told about, like, faith without works is dead. That is true. But it may not be the word that you're thinking. It may not be you taking a bunch of actions, overly taking a bunch of actions. It may be your work on yourself to receive. But we gotta go.
Believing. Yes, we gotta go to a break.
I know. We gotta go to the work of believing. Okay, we can talk about it when we get back. We can use that to hop into your story. We will. Y'all keep it locked right here. We're talking to Shaniece Jones. She is I'm the creator of Closet Therapy. What's the name of your full company though?
It's a one woman army.
Okay, the CEO of One Woman Army and the creator of Closet Therapy. And I'm so excited to continue this conversation with her. Y'all keep it locked right here. We'll be right back after this. And before we left off of the last segment, we were talking about belief and just like how God would bring things to you. And I was telling a story about how my EA came to me, Shaniece came to me, my COO came to me, right? Like, these are people that I know 100% were delivered by God into my life. And I'm always hopeful that I could be just as, impactful or positive or helpful for their lives too. Like, I'm always thinking about that.
But you don't have to, because I think that you do it so naturally. I think, like, this is not supposed to be the conversation, but here we go. But I think that, like, sometimes you think, like, and I have a problem doing that. Like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm giving as much, as they are giving to me. And it's like, when you come into a relationship with someone, it's organic. Like, you don't have to worry about if you're giving enough, because you have impacted. Like, those side conversations that you have, even in the toughest moments, like, I think, because as a woman, it's sometimes hard for you to have those tough conversations, but I respect those, because you're trying to make me better. You're trying to help me become better. So, like, you are always impacting no matter what. Like, you can't help yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you always have some way, like, it's like kind of like, I'm going to tell you, but then I'm also going to lift you up. Like, I'm going to bring you down, but I'm going to lift you up to let you know how to be better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's great. I think that's the way that you grow. It's uncomfortable for us, but in the essence, you look back in hindsight. Like, there's so many moments I can look back from the beginning when we had like that rough patch. But the fact, like, even in relationships, right, you have those rough patches, but when you can get over them, like, yo, this person really rocked with me. Like, I know if we can go through something as tough as this and get to the other side, then what else can we, like, handle together? So don't ever think that you're not giving enough. Like, you give enough. You give opportunities, like, to people. You built something that feeds people and put food on the table. Like, don't do that.
Thank you. Well, speaking of giving it up or being too much, let's talk about Closet Therapy, right? Because let's start with your background and how you got here. Like, what has been the journey, like, kind of developing what it is becoming now, and like One Woman Army, talk to me a little bit about the beginning. Take me back to medical school. You're like, I'm not about to be a doctor. Like, what has that journey been like?
So I was going to school to become an optometrist at first, because my mom, I'm West Indian and Cape Verdean. And so, like, my mom was like, you doctor, lawyer, like, it's the same things that's going to make sure you secure your future. And so I was like, fine, I'll get my degree, to please my parents, right? Pretty much. Like, I always wanted to do fashion. And my mom, like, you're too smart for fashion. And I love my mother, God rest her soul, right? But I was like, that was like my passion. But I understood that she wanted me to have a secure future. And so, like, I graduated, and I'm a scientist. I graduated with my science degree, my pre-med degree in biology. And so I started working in finance. And it's so crazy because, right, like, you got your science degree and then you don't go into science, but I started working in finance. And I was like, boom, finance pays. Like I can make sure that I have like a good, secure future. But while I was there were pivotal people that were in the hedge fund that would be like, oh my gosh, like you dress so well, you love fashion. They were like encouraging me, like, why don't you take a few like courses like in styling? And these are like executives of the company. Like I would like give them advice, like while we're in the office, or you should put this with this, or you need to go to an event. Like I'll look for stuff for you. And so like I took a few classes at FIT because that was my dream school. So after I got my degree from my mom, pretty much I say from my mom, right? But in essence, like now it's serving me. But I went to FIT and got like my styling degree. I did a program called School of Style, and I ended up being an intern on Kanye's team while I was working at the hedge fund. So all my vacation time, all my sick time went into investing into that, and then working backstage New York Fashion Week. Like I was always doing something after work. Like as I told you guys, I'm West Indian Jamaican, right? So like I had multiple jobs in high school and college and while I was working a full-time job. And from there, I was like, man, I really just want to do this fashion thing. And I remember going into work one day. I started interning with this lady in Atlanta who was a stylist there. And she was like, sure. Like, I kept calling her. I was very persistent. Like, I want to do this. If I can just like, do research for you, I'll do the shopping. I'll close your books out. I work in finance. Like I'll do the stuff that people don't want to do. And she finally gave me an opportunity. And I remember calling her and saying, man, I just wish like I can get fired and just work for you full time. Well, 2 hours later, I got laid off.
What?
They brought me in and they were like, Shaniece, we think you're great. We're downsizing because I work for the head of investor relations. And so he 2 weeks prior to it got let go. And I was like, something about to happen. And so when they were saying they were downsizing, they were like, we'll give you a good severance package. We'll give you a good recommendation. We got you. And literally that's what carried me over to be able to do styling because I had that severance package to do styling full time. And while I was doing styling, I noticed that I enjoyed organizing more. I was always that kid like that would reorganize her Trapper Keeper, that would reorganize like her room. Like I've always been that person. But like while I was on set, everyone was so excited to be around celebrities. I'm like, they just regular people to me. Like it was cool to be on set with them, but I'm like, I'm here to do the work. Like I'm not here to like rub shoulders and hope that I get famous. I'm like, I really want to do this career. And so while I was there, I was like, can I organize their closets? Like, and so the lady that like brought me in, Shem Melton, I always give her a shout out. She's like a big sister to me. She's always called me her closet girl. So she would send me to all her clients. Like she was working with like Gucci and all the housewives of Atlanta. And I became known as the closet girl, right? And so she's like, just make this a business. And I was like, you know what? I will, but I made it more of a side hustle. So like, that's kind of like how it all evolved. And I just kept it as a side hustle as I moved as a stylist. I would offer these services to my clients and they would just be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It wasn't until maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I started seeing like how the clutter in the closet, like how it was connecting to like my background in science. Like I was like, I have this hypothesis that like, that if you get this area right, like you can clear like a lot of the mental clutter because I would see like how stressed people would be going into their spaces and like also the reaction over the past decade, how they would react once I was done in the closet. So I was like, you know what, like there's something here. And so I created this hypothesis in my mind as most scientists do, right? And so I started just testing it like with different clients. And I'm like, they didn't know what I was doing like in the preliminary like questionnaire. I'll be asking questions of like, like, how do you feel when you walk in there? Okay. And then at the end of the closet, I'm like, how do you feel now? Like, it would just kind of be like my own personal test. And then also like during the edit, I started noticing people would be like, oh my gosh, like some of my clients who are wealthy, they're like, do I look rich? And I'm like, do you see the house you live in? Like, I'm confused. So like, it would be stuff like that started my wheels turning. I'm like, oh, this is like therapy. Like, so eventually closet therapy became this thing where it's now like a digital program where I help people get to the root of their clutter because it's not just what you see in the space. Like what's in the space is actually manifested from what's in the subconscious mind, like how you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself. And I can kind of start seeing those things like in people's closets, like whether they have a lot of tags, whether they're holding on to items that are too big or too small for them. It's so many things that people just look at the closet as this is just a closet. I'm like, no, it's deeper than that. Like everybody in the world has a closet and people use the closet to shove the things they don't want people to see.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I didn't know that you're West Indian. George Andres is also Jamaican, so I don't know. Maybe there's a thing there. But with the people I'm bringing in, Brownie's Nigerian, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I just work with all foreign black folks. But so um but I think one that like that's such an amazing journey, and I think people often ask me about like how do you know when to pivot? And you know, I think a lot of times like what you're supposed to be doing is calling you all the time. Like and if you just really flow with it, then you'll land on it, right? So you had to like she could say, okay, you look about you could have said, no, I don't know nothing about closets. You know, you could have been like, I don't feel comfortable with that, you know? But I think just being such a go getter and just having that like, I'll try it. You know, like let me see. Okay, cool. I do like this kind of mentality has really been beneficial for you. Where do you think that sort of resilience comes from?
When I was a kid, I didn't like hearing no. Like I think that's the thing. Like if my mom told me, because my parents weren't together, my dad was engaged to two women at the same time. That's a whole different story for another time. But so my mom, like being a single mom, if she would tell me like no, I would like literally go and call my dad like, Dad, like can I get, because if one person, I always said like when I was trying to get into fashion, like applying for Vogue and all these different places, like Condé Nast, like to work at Vogue, and no one like will call me back, or you get those rejection letters. I'm like, how can I go through the back door then? Like if the front door ain't gonna let me in, like how do I get through the window or the back door? Like, there's another way in, and if I have to work myself up from the mailroom in, like as long as I get a foot in the door, I know that my work ethic will prove itself. So I think ever since I was a little kid, like even doing my work, I was very competitive too. Like, so if I knew someone got a higher grade, I'm like, I'm gonna beat them on the next test. Like, and it'll make me just study and go harder. Like, literally. And that's what I carry through my life. Like, just keep being better. Like, if they can do it, so can you. But there's also moments where I have insecurity. Like, there's certain elements of that I don't think were developed as a child. Like, as far as like feeling pretty, feeling worthy, like those things are like where I have had to work the most. Not when it comes to working hard. Like I could work hard all day. I say toxic work behavior because I will work literally all day with no complaints. Like I don't complain about, oh my God, I'm working all day. Like I'd be like, be quiet when people talk like that. I'm like, come on, just go get some coffee or something. Like we got a vision and a mission to like go after. But when it comes down to certain things like how I feel valued and how do I value myself, that's the area where I had to work the most. So I won't say I'm resilient in that part, but I'm resilient in becoming better.
Oh, wow. And you're so beautiful. I think
Oh,
that,
thank
you
you.
know, that it's one of those things that um I think that on our journeys as entrepreneurs, right, you are dealing with so many things. And so we just continue to personally develop whoever we are. And you know, somebody said to me one time, you want to get closer to God, become an entrepreneur.
Mm,
And so I
you're not
think that,
lying.
you know, like your level of faith and your level of belief has to develop. The thing is like it has to develop for you to be a successful entrepreneur. Your level of faith in whatever it is that you believe, you know, like even if it's just like I believe I'm great. Okay, well, even your level of faith in that
Mhm.
gets tested as an entrepreneur. So you have to grow that muscle of sort of belief. So when we get into the Jennifer Hudson show and all of that, but talk to me a little bit about the closet therapy part, right? So there is a person has a closet, there's clutter. Is it just closets that you do too, or is it other parts of the house?
It's other parts of the house. It's not my favorite parts because I've worked on farms. Like, believe it or not, like I've organized like an entire, yeah, it was messy and it was crazy. I tried goat milk, all the things. But like, there's those jobs that come through that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take it. Like, that was one of the most rewarding because they literally had like a lot of clutter and like helping them get through the mental part. Like, the mental clutter was like the most rewarding thing for me at the end, no matter how long the job took. But like people would ask me to organize their pantries. And even in that, like I think about I ask them, what are your goals? Right. And so like, what journey are you on? Just through conversation, trying to get to understand my client. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I've been trying to lose weight, blah, blah. But when I'm organizing their pantry, there may be unhealthy snacks in there. Right. So what I tend to do is when I organize it, I take it out of sight because it's out of sight. Right. Like, sometimes out of mind, but like I'll put it at a space when they first open, it's like healthy snacks. So it's like automatically trying to train their brain to develop a new habit and a new system. So like putting the unhealthy snacks somewhere where you gotta like dig down where you're like, I don't even want it at that point, you know? So it's just what I've learned over time with the psychology and with science, like how the brain works and understanding, like in studying more neuroscience, like how the brain actually works and functions is like how I implement the system into the space.
What are some of the benefits that you see from people like after the organization, after things are organized, right? Like what are some of the outcomes that you, or some of the messages that you hear or get from people?
They change the way they shop. Like a lot of people, when I'm in their closet, sometimes there's stuff with tags on it, or I help them find money in their closet. I'm like, you have never worn this, or this is something that's valuable. So like instead of going to spend and buy a whole bunch of like cheap items, which is nothing wrong with that, like going, mixing high and low fashion, I tend to teach them because I worked in fashion, like if you invest in like a good pair of jeans, like right, like you spend maybe $100 more on a pair of jeans, you can actually consign these and get a return to invest in another pair of jeans when you're ready to get rid of them. So like instead of just buying stuff that's always trendy, because that stuff you end up trying to get rid of when you do another closet edit, it's a waste of money. Like, but in your mind at the time, you're like, oh, I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of items because it's a reasonable price and I can get more for my money. But then you end up wasting money on the back end. So like just helping them understand like different shopping habits, feeling more at peace. Because normally every client that I work with, I'm like, how do you feel when you walk in this space? Whether it's their pantry, whether it's on that farm, whether it's in their closet, I always hear I'm overwhelmed. Like, and I'm like, that's understandable. Like, I can understand why you feel overwhelmed because of the message you're translating from your visuals to your brain. Like, so you're telling your brain it's chaos, which you're releasing unnecessary cortisol, which leads to stress. So, in essence, we can't see the reduced stress, but I go based off how they feel. And like when I come back to do a refresh, sometimes I don't even have to do much in the closet because they're keeping the same system and it's already like in order. So like relieving the whole idea of like feeling calm and I'm not overwhelmed and it makes it easier for me to get dressed and I'm not spending as much money as I used to before. Like those are some of the benefits, like once you're working and like working through the mess, the mental clutter and the physical clutter in the closet.
Is there a thin line between like organizing and cleaning?
Yes, it's different.
Because I'm like, well, my closet is dirty, like that, like that language is like, well, it's dirty in there. I don't
Yeah.
know that I use the word clutter.
Yeah. So people may
Right.
use in a exchange of words for clutter, it's like, oh, it's messy, right? Like it's a mess in there, like, but it's actually like clutter. So like sometimes switching the terminology, it's the same thing, but like it's messy in there, like I can't get in there. Or when it comes to cleaning, I take cleaning as like I'm about to like clean my bathroom, right? Like
Mm.
organizing is I'm creating a system. Like I'm trying to create a system that works with the
Mm.
flow of my life. So like if I came to you and I'm like, all right, I know you got to get, your daughter Skylar up in the morning. I know I'm going to try to organize your closet in a way where it's like the first thing you may want to grab is like, let me go grab some tights and stuff so I can walk her down in the bus stop and then I'll get dressed. So like I will create a system in your closet where it's the easiest
Mm.
for you in the way that you flow through your day.
That's good because I be looking at like a mess at the end of that hallway, honey. And whatever day that is, I can't find the leggings. I'm just throwing on a robe right quick. You know what I'm saying? Walking down the hall, child. I'm glad don't nobody be out there. Cause listen, but but how have you developed your own sort of mechanism for whatever the system? Like, do you have like a set of systems, or is truly unique to each person? Like, how have you now developed after doing so many closets? How does it work for you now when you walk into the closet yourself?
I think for me, I've created a system of like how I flow to get the answers that I need to create a custom system. So like asking the right questions, figuring out where they are in their stage of life. And I always ask them like, what is your vision? What's your goal for yourself? Like whether it's like, hey, I want to become like I want to move to the next level or move up the ladder. Like when I'm doing an edit in the closet, I'm like, well, this stuff doesn't represent where you are now. It makes it easier for the edit. And then I'm able to create a system that's like, okay, your new life is that you want to get dressed more, right? Like you want to put on like better clothes. I'm going to put that stuff more to the front to make you want to get dressed, like, cause you're seeing it versus like the stuff that's always pushed to the back of the closet. So that is the customized part. But like my systems of how I get to the end point is the same.
Okay, color coding, right? Like, do you think it is Is it a good idea? Should you go based off of habits in the way you're talking about now? Should you think color theory in terms of like how you put a closet together, or it doesn't matter? Because like I think I tried to get fancy one time, it didn't work out. It didn't work out.
I, I think color coding the closet helps it simplifies like, all right, I know I got this blue shirt in here. Let me go to my blue section. Like that's why I enjoy color coding. But when it comes to in terms of like decorating, right, decor, interior styling the closet, like when I do custom builds or if you're like painting a wall in the closet, that is important to like what brings you peace. I'm not going to put like a bright yellow something in the closet unless you tell me that makes you happy, right? So there's just certain things like there's certain colors also that bring peace and calm. Like if that's what you're trying to go for in the closet, unless you're just like, I want to be inspired, I want to be excited. All right, let's put some bright colors in here. So, but when it comes to organizing your clothes by color, I think that's important because it helps to streamline the eye as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, you have to put the light to dark. I normally do because I wear a lot of black. So it's like darks on blacks, whites, and then I go into my color scheme because I don't wear a lot of color. So
Okay,
it
okay.
just depends.
Okay, no, that's cool. She just brought to mind that the way she organized the shows is not the way I'm running it right now. And so, because technically there's supposed to be an Ask Omi segment at the end of the show, and I'm like, nah, let's just talk about you. But you know what? We'll add a couple minutes to do the Ask Omi part at the end of the show. But I don't even know what would you need to ask me anyway. You already know all the things. So, all right,
I
we'll
got
do it.
questions. I got questions.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it. The Jennifer Hudson show.
Yes.
You've been on twice, and you know that you are the closet therapist on the Jennifer Hudson show. How did you get to the show? How you also been covering like the New York Times?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. I really am.
Oh.
So tell me, I want to know all the things. How did you get to the Jennifer Hudson show? How did it feel to do the show? What was it like?
Oh man, so they found me. Most of the opportunities that have come have found me like through my social media or like because I'm so niche in what I do. Like anybody that's even people that post, I'm like, who is this? They're like, oh, I need someone to organize my closet. People are tagging me because now I'm known as the closet girl in essence, which is cool. Because at first I was like, I need to serve everybody. I need to do all the things, and I'm like, I'm so happy that I stayed in this lane doing classes because of what I enjoy the most. I don't really enjoy doing pantries and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? So like I feel that this is my lane, right? So they found me through my social media. And then when I got on the show, I'm not gonna lie, like the first time I was like, wait, what? Like, is this really happening? And I have a tendency to not believe that things can happen for me, but I'll be like the biggest cheerleader for other people. And I didn't tell anybody about it. Like I literally, when they told me, I was like, what if this falls through? Like I'm afraid to like tell anyone that this is happening. Like what if this falls through? So I literally did the show and then like I waited up until the first, like the day going, everything. The only person that knew was the person that did my makeup because I called her. I was like, hey, I need my makeup done. Outside of that, like I told no one until the show was about to come out because I was like, what if they don't even air the show? What if they tell me like, never mind, we're gonna pull it? I'm always afraid of getting the rug pulled from under me, and that's probably like some other kind of trauma. That Omi's looking like I'm
Right, because I
asking
was like,
questions.
what do you mean you about to be on the Jennifer Hudson show? And I've been talking to you every week, and you did not tell me that. Like, are you kidding me right now? Why am I finding this out with the public? You know what I'm saying? Like, ma'am, no. So
Yes.
yes, but I'm gonna reserve my comments. Go ahead.
And so like when I got on the show, I was nervous but like I made sure that like not only did I show up, I was like, I'm here to serve. Like and I changed like it wasn't about me. Like I changed my mindset. Like I'm actually here to actually get this message out because I truly believe in it. Like it's my hypothesis. I believe like this is something that I can like help people around the world, not just in the United States, but all over because everyone has a closet, a wardrobe or whatever. And so when I got on there, I literally before I went on, I was like, what if I fumble my words? I've always been afraid, like I've got picked on for my voice, like growing up, that like I sound like a man, all these things, and so like had all these insecurities bubbling up, and before I walked out on that stage, I was like, you know what, God, let your voice come through. Like I'm just gonna let everything go. Whatever I say is what's supposed to be said, and so like the fact that they called me back again, I felt like honored. I was like, you know what, like you guys seen something. I obviously was able to serve. Let me go serve again. So I never got I still have been like, let me not get too excited. Let me not celebrate. And I think that's something I need to work on, like celebrate the opportunity in the moment. I just like, okay, like, let me just let that moment pass and like move on to the next. And then they reached out to me. I remember receiving an email and I seen NYT and I was like, man, this is spam. Like, what is this? Like, I opened the email and it was like, hi, I'm a writer for the New York Times. And at first they wanted to do a photo shoot with me, but I was like, not in the city that they wanted to do the photo shoot. And they were like, this is the New York Times. I was like, this ain't real. Like, something ain't right. Like, this ain't no way that
Mm.
they're like just randomly reaching out to me. And it ended up being a real deal, like Holyfield situation. And so like the opportunities that came to me, like how you said, like the people will come to you. Like you have to have the faith and the belief. It's pretty much what happened. Like the opportunities just came to me and I was like, oh my God, like what does this mean? Like what do I do now? You know? So yeah.
Now, what just came to me while you said that is, imagine, so if these opportunities came to you based off of you believing in your work ethic and your work output, imagine how many opportunities will come to you when you start to really get that belief also in yourself and your worth and your beauty and your all the other parts of you. You know what I mean? Like then if that can happen and like that, then like, because it's interesting. The idea of like well, I believe in my work output. I'm the same way. I believe in
Mm-hmm.
my work output. Hands down, you're not gonna outwork me. Your event ain't gonna be better than mine. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of person I am. And and so I think like we're aligned there, and I agree on the personal side. I'm like, oh no, but do I look right? Am I too fat? Am I too what? You know what I mean? Like all these things. Also the voice thing. Like growing up, I also got picked on. Well, I actually damaged my voice by trying to make my voice higher
Oh
so that I would
wow.
not get picked on. And so I think, I never thought about this way, but there's something there about trying to shift into what feels appropriate for other people,
Mm.
right?
This is what happens, y'all. This is what happens when she's not on camera, y'all.
That ends up damaging you, right? And so I think like the gap between like, I know my work ethic, I'm fully believe in this, but this is why I love the work that you're doing with people in their closets, because there's a gap, there's a cognitive dissonance between my, what I'm doing in my most intimate places and what I'm doing in my public places. There's something there mentally about going home to it, going back to it, entering it every night, every day, whatever. But then you sort of just grab what you grab, throw it on, and you just kind of go out. And you're still being successful. You're still manifesting all these things. Things are still coming to fruition with you. But I think like what I see in closet therapy is, imagine if you're being amazing the way that you are now. Imagine how much more clear, how much more calm, how you'll be able to operate when you align these other parts too.
That's deep. And that's like what I do enjoy talking about, like when I do speak about closet therapy. Because I'm like, this is a place where you go, you start and end your day. Like you got to go to get your pajamas, right? You end up in your closet in the evening, you end up in your closet in the morning, and constantly seeing the reminders in there, like the stuff that's no longer serving you, that's still sitting in there, or you think like out of sight, out of mind. And I tell my clients, like, it's out of sight in your mind because your subconscious mind is constantly going. As much as you think like, man, I don't know. Your subconscious mind is reminding you of whatever that attachment is to certain items in your closet. Like I had items like from my ex-boyfriends. I was like, oh, subconsciously, I was like, maybe they'll come back like the movies, like, this love story. And it was like, I had to let those things go because I knew that that's what I was thinking and what I was feeling. So every time I would do an edit, I would see it. I'm like, I'm just going to tuck this in the back. All I was doing was like hoping for something that may or may never happen, right? Like, do I really want that? No, I don't. Like, I looking in hindsight, I'm like, actually, I don't want them to come back. I want something fresh and new. So like, that is so important to understand. Like, there is that disconnect. We go out into the world, we go into our closets, we get dressed, we put on all our pretty clothes and they smell good. And no one knows what's actually happening on the inside, the insecurities, the feelings that we are feeling every time we go into this space, right? Like the closets where I used to run and cry when I was a kid, like whether it was a reach-in closet or not. Like you go into that space because you feel so like it's intimate. So you feel like I can just become undone in here. I can just cry. I can scream. I can like hide my journal, like with all the notes of like how I actually feel. Like think about when people pass away, you find all that stuff in their closets of like
Closet.
how they were actually feeling or what they were actually dealing with. But we overlook it because like, well, they look like I hate it. I hate hearing this. People always say, you like you got it all together. I'm like, if you only knew what I'm experiencing. So I do my best to try and be transparent and vulnerable to be like, yo, I've dealt with anxiety. I deal with insecurity. Like I want to make myself like help people see that I don't have it all together, but I'm working hard to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I think so. Tell us a little bit about the the products you created, or like the course now. Like what kind of things can people expect from closet therapy? So let's walk through the process. Do we like go to a website, sign up? Like how does it work in terms of like, hey, somebody wants to work with you? What does that look like?
So a lot of people find me on the people's internet on Instagram. So normally it starts with like the DM. That's where the conversation happens. Like I am in the middle of like the 5 week live coaching. We show up every Saturday, and I've been coaching like a group of women like through closet therapy. So if someone wants to work with me or join like the closet therapy waitlist, because I'm going to relaunch it in a month from now, they can just DM me or send me an email through my website, like the contact my contact portion on my website, and then I will communicate with them like, okay, I'm putting you on the list. There's a wait list like right now for the closet therapy, and then when it comes out, I normally bring people into like a Zoom and actually help them understand like what is happening with clutter before like I even enter, like allow you guys to enter into the program, because I want to know you're ready. Like I'm not just doing a program to make extra money. Like I like granted having a business, yes, that's the goal, right? But at the end of the day, I want people in there that are ready. And these women that I'm working with, like, were ready. Like, they were at their breakup point. Like, why does this keep happening? Why do I declutter and everything keeps coming back again? Like, what does this actually mean? Like, and I normally people jump into the program and think, oh, the first week we're about to declutter. I'm like, nah, your mind got to get right. So, like, in the first week, like, just to kind of walk you through the 5 weeks of live coaching, the first week, I'm telling you what's happening in the neuroscience behind clutter. So I'm giving you like a little mini lesson of like the science behind what's happening. And then the second week, I bring in my hypnotherapist who has helped me get over a lot of things like with my insecurity, et cetera, to reprogram the subconscious mind, because it takes 21 days to form a new habit, to change a thought. And so like she does a live session, and then we do there's a recording that people listen to every single day for the remaining 21 days of the program. And then the third week is when we actually get in there, start decluttering. We do like a declutter party where everyone's like going through their closets. I'm helping them assess. They get to ask the women like, should I keep this? Should I toss this? Kind of like Sex in the City, where we have like our like things like keep, toss, donate, or whatever. And then the fourth week is when I like help them how to organize your space. Like, what is the system that we need to implement? And then the final week, we actually figure out how to maintain the system. And I'm bringing in like some of my stylist friends from the industry that's going to help them how to shop, teach them how to shop their closet without having to go out and buy new things, how to put things together of what you already had after the edit, so you don't feel like you can't get dressed or like you don't have like the items that you need in your closet.
You listen to the Omi Show. I'm Omi Bell. I'm here with Shaniece Jones. She's the CEO of One Woman Army and the creator of Closet Therapy. You keep saying using the word edit. You said after the edit. You said it a few times. What does that mean? Tell me more. Like what are we talking about?
Because a lot of people or organizers like to use, we're purging. And I'm like, that is so intense, because people get afraid when they hear the word purge. It's like, you about to get rid of all my stuff. Like, it's like that shock, like feeling where it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm not ready. So I call it an edit. Like
I like that.
when you edit, you're like taking stuff like little by little out. Like, what do I need to change about my closet? Like about myself in my closet? Like, what piece do I need to remove versus like, oh, we're going in there throwing everything out. So I call it an edit instead of calling it purging.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like saying edit. I like you. And I think edit is small word. It rolls off the tongue quickly, and then you're like, oh, I'm just editing. No, that's dope. I like
Yeah.
that. No, that's good. That's good. What's next for Closet Therapy?
I'm just trying to get the message out to more people. I feel like everybody in America has a closet. Everybody across the world has a closet, but a lot of people overlook. So my goal and my mission is to change the way people view their closet, so that way they can actually start getting to the root of like not just their physical clutter, but their mental clutter, so that they can become better. Like we need everybody to be at their best selves and doing what is their genius, right? So like if you never stepped into and built Black Girl Ventures, like think about all the people who would have never gotten capital, right? So like if you didn't step into your genius, then we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here, right? So I think that it's important for me to start at the intimate space of their closets to help people get out of the things that's blocking them from actually going after. I wish I had someone to do that for me. So like I'm trying to give that back to other people.
And I think you are. So
Oh, well,
I'm so excited for the work that you do, and you're killing it. I mean, listen, I'm super super happy for you, and of course, any ways that I can be support, whatever, I got you.
definitely does. You always been there. I
Okay.
can hold you.
So all right, so we got 5 minutes left. All right, for Ask Omi. So you go
Y'all,
ahead
she
and
only gave
bring
me
it.
5 minutes, and it's supposed to be 20 minutes. Just to let y'all know, the second half of the show is supposed to be me asking her all the questions for 20 minutes. But since she's driving the ship today, okay, and I'm not, I'm gonna take my 5 minutes, okay. I want to first of all, I want to say thank you, like for trusting me with your platform and being here. So I have to give you your flowers right now. In this area, I'm grateful. But I noticed, like even on social media, that there has been a shift in you big time. Not like a little, I'm going away for a couple of weeks and I'm about to come back this new person. No, I've seen you say that and that happened. But because you have like intentionally set time away to do a sabbatical and you put those things and structures in place, like I see you smiling more, like your face looks different, like you're actually like living and enjoying. I want to know what this process of the sabbatical, what has been the struggle for you, even as you are growing and developing in the sabbatical, like what has been the hardest thing for you?
Oh Lord, yeah, we needed 20 minutes to talk about this.
Told you.
Um, I have I feel like each month has had a theme. Like my first month was like a rip apart, like a separation. Like a getting really separated from work for real. Because even though I've taken time off before, I'm still kind of in it. I'm still kind of holding the brain reins, is what I call it. Of like what happens. In this case, I really gave it to my COO, and I really just kind of let go. And this is the first time I really let go of Black Girl Ventures and the full range of decision making on a daily basis that has to happen. Even in the past times I've taken off, I sort of put things in a place where like no decisions need to be made during a couple weeks I was off, right? And in this case, I'm like, nope, whatever you decide, I'm gonna just trust that thing. So I would say there's a full separation. I think there's also just spending days doing absolutely nothing. Like I traveled, going abroad to start the sabbatical, I think was key, because if I would have stayed here, I don't think I would have been able to separate in the same way. But I went to Spain, then I went to Morocco, then I went back to Spain. And I mean, like while I was in Morocco, I spent like whole days in the hotel room just crying,
Mhm.
about whatever, And so I think also simultaneously I was taking this class that was about like masculine and feminine energetics and just like moving energy. So I'm also
Mhm.
really the process of this soul sabbatical has been like me moving from my head to my heart and balancing the way my masculine and feminine energy shows up inside of me. And it's really like me knowing and admitting to myself that I've been numb, not sharing my
Mhm.
feelings, not feeling at all for the past, definitely 5 years, but I would say like for at least 8 years of BGV, and the majority of that time I'm just going. I'm ignoring my body. I'm ignoring my emotions. I'm just numbing up everything so that I can be whatever is considered successful. So I would say
Mhm.
like the hardest part is moving from my head to my brain. My brain to my heart. The best part has been the rest, like being able to just rest. And this is something that I now know I have to bring back with me. I can't, like, my body right now, I can feel myself when I get overwhelmed. Like 2 meetings in a day and I can't.
Mm.
And you already know I'm running. You know what I mean? I might have 5, 6. My schedule is crazy. I can't do
Yes.
it. I can't do
Oh,
it.
that's deep.
I can't. Like, even now, like, I also no longer, like I said, we need more time to talk about this, but I no longer feel obligated to stay at an event the entire time. I no longer feel obligated to take all the things that are being given to me. I no longer feel obligated to, because I'm like, oh, I got to stay at this event because what if right at the tail end I meet the person that's gonna do. I can't. I don't feel it. I gotta go. I'm done. I'm tired. I absorbed too much energy and I gotta go.
That's
No,
deep.
no tea, no shade to everybody at the event. I gotta go. And that has never been me. I'm not an introvert. I'm not one that feels like I gotta be alone, that kind of thing. So it's been a huge journey. We might have to record after this. We might have to record more because we gotta go. So I tell you what, we'll keep recording, but that's all we got for y'all today.
Yes.
So what's the website? What's the website, Shaniece?
You can find me on Instagram at Shaniece M Jones, M as in Mary, or you can find me at my website, ShanieceJones.com.
All right, y'all. Make sure you check it out. Shaniece Jones, she's amazing. She is the CEO of One Woman Army and the creator of Closet Therapy. You were asking me questions about sabbatical. Okay, what the last thing you were just saying? You feel
So
like
like, because you like ended with saying like you no longer feel like you have to stay somewhere, and like no shade to people that stay because you were thinking like, oh, like what if I meet the person right at the end? And I think like based on just like the time that I've known you, like even going to events with you, like you shifted from like, oh, I'm just happy to be in a room to like, yo, I'm here. I came, I saw, I conquered, right? And I think like that shift in itself, like it's not like, oh, it's this disrespect to not say the whole event. Nobody who is like at a certain level ever. I mean, you watch The Devil Wears Prada. She's like, pick me up, drop me off at 8 o'clock, pick me up at 8:15 sharp. Like she came, she showed up, she's met who she had to meet. Whoever, like you said, it will come to you. So whoever is in the room at the time that you're there is who you were supposed to meet. If they got there, then they got there late. They missed the opportunity to meet you, not you missed the opportunity to meet them. And I think that's like a different mindset as you are elevating to another space. Like even allowing someone else to make certain decisions for the baby that you grew, right? Like your business in itself is like tremendous growth. So I think taking that post sabbatical is like another level of leadership. I don't think that it's disrespectful. I don't think that it's like ego. And I mean, look, Kanye got to where he is because he had like, he believed in himself, right? Like he's not wasting time on things. Like your time is valuable. And I think when you start to honor your time, other people will honor your time. If you don't honor your time, then you got to stay at an event all day, the whole time. There's things like you have a daughter, like that time is valuable too. So I think shifting the mindset, how you say it, like you're shifting, you're not going into this next season post sabbatical where it's like, I need to have 5 meetings a day. Like, let me meet these people. No. And I think even when we started working together, like I would be like, no, like they're coming to meet you. They want to talk to you. We shift your schedule for how your day works, like I think that's just important to take that as you come back from sabbatical in a few months. Like it's a new level. Like you're stepping into a new level of leadership.
So there's something here around accessibility and
Mm-hmm.
access. I think that's what it is, like accessibility and access, and the idea of, in order for me to get access, I have to overconsume so that I can filter down to what I actually need. So like I need to be available. I need to access. And I didn't have a good balance of that because I was just so in go-getter mode. Like because I didn't starting off this journey, I didn't have anything. All I had was my time. And so it's like that is the part that I can give. That is the part I can use.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part I can leverage. I got my times, my emotion, my body, that's what I could put into it. I can't put no money into this because I don't got it. I can't even put, I could put my talent in from what I know. But at the early stages of building business, even for Black Girl Ventures, just building even the print shop that I was building, I had little sparks of expertise, but what I knew was how to work. You know, I knew how to outwork. I knew how to use all available time to think about it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think like anything I'm working on, I eat, sleep, and breathe it. So when I wake up, I'm thinking about it. When I go to sleep, I'm waking up. I'm thinking about it in the shower. I'm singing songs and I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it while I'm driving, you know? And I think that like that's what I knew to do in order to succeed. And so
Yeah.
having a child at 17, you know, I didn't know how to be a parent, but I knew that I needed to obtain certain things in life, like a degree or things like that, so that I can provide opportunity for my children, right? I knew that I needed to get educated. I knew that I needed to work hard. I knew that I was going to have to work hard. I knew at 18 that I'm going to have to work harder than everybody else. I knew when I had my second child at 21, I'm going to have to work harder than everybody else. And so I think the like, you know, when Black people, when they say they're like, oh, you got to be faster, smarter, whatever. Well, consider that if you are one layer of Black person, will you just being a Black person? But like you are a Black person with 2 kids by 21. The idea of work faster, harder, smarter is times 10.
Yes.
Because now, not only are we talking about Black people against white people, we're talking about now a statistic, a different kind of statistic, right? That can be its own sort of self-fulfilling prophecy if you don't outwork it. Like I'm like, oh God, I never said this like this. Ashe. That's me outworking the statistic.
Hmm.
I wasn't even at the place where I was outworking nobody else. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even about nobody else. I'm trying to outwork what society's saying about me. And we ain't even talking, and that's just one layer, like single parent, teen mom, you know, person who has child in college. We ain't even talking about Black beauty, you know, Black excellence, just being smart, you know, poverty, you know, like that's a part that. So the beauty part was on the back burner. The body part was in this. It was in a subsection of criticism, right? So it's like, oh, body part not great. Okay, but what I'm about to do is raise these kids and get this degree and make this money. You know, so I think that like over time, when it came to building a business, and this is something that even my kids right now are like, hey, you wasn't emotionally available. By the time they became 10 and 12 and 13 and 15, 12, 15, you know, my older kids, they're like, oh, you weren't emotionally available. You're right. And every time you say it, I'll own it because you were absolutely correct. I had nothing but the ability to make money. And there's no excuse. I don't think they should feel different about it, any of that. I'm just saying that like, it's real.
Yeah.
And what I realized now is like, oh shit, like I really didn't have it. You know how like you might say to yourself, like, yeah, I did that thing. But what I've been reconciling is like literally like I didn't have anything. Like you can like look at a person and be like, and this is why I think the work that you're doing is so key, because you can look at a person and people will just say, you should be able to, you know, go and clean your whatever. You know what I mean? Like, well, you could do that. Why you can't just do that? Yeah, I'm cleaning my kitchen. You know why you can't clean your kitchen?
Yeah.
People who are OCD about cleaning look at people who don't care about cleaning, and they go, "What's wrong with you? Because you don't want to clean up? It's so dirty in here." And people don't understand. Like I can articulate it now. Cleaning was the only ball I could drop. Emotions was the only ball I could drop. Care for myself. Oh, that's making me emotional.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only ball I could drop.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't drop the ball on shelter. You know, I couldn't drop the ball on lights, water. You know, I couldn't drop the ball on caring for kids. So you hold as much as you can hold.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Until you can't hold no more. And what I'm clear on is like, I don't want to get to a place where my work, my family, nothing like that drives me to the hospital. I
Yeah.
refuse to let things make me physically sick. You know, I refuse to do that. So if I gotta let it drop, if I gotta let it go, that's the one thing I'm not gonna do. You're not gonna drive me to the hospital.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So
I think that's good because like there was something that someone real close to me, she had told me like years ago, because I would be like, oh, like my dad, I love my father, but I'm like, why was he engaged to these two people and at the same time? And like, is that how I don't value myself now? And I want to make sure I don't find the man like all the things. And they were like, like your parents did the best that they could do with what they had. And I think that's the best grace that we can give our parents, right? Like, no matter what stage in life we are, like your kids, us as like kids to our parents, is like, we don't know what they had to deal with. Like, I know that my grandmother and my mother had a good relationship, but not the best relationship. So there were a lot of insecurities that I knew that my mom had. She didn't like taking photos. She didn't like smiling. There's so many things. And I think that it's important for us to give our parents grace, because who knows what things they had to give. Like how you're saying, like, the only thing I could drop, my mom was a single mom of three with three different baby daddies, right? Like, so just imagine, like,
same.
her thing was like, let me go to, like, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna make sure my girls have what they have. Like, no matter if that took her into debt, that no matter if that took her like, oh, I'm gonna get y'all these things on layaway, where other kids are like, oh yeah, I used to get made fun of, like, your sneakers don't match. And I'm like, well, at least they clean. Like, like there were certain things, like my mom did the best she could for us with what she had. And I think like as kids, like, at 10 and all that, like, yeah, as you look older now, it's like you weren't available. Yeah, I wasn't available, but like you had a roof over your head. And I think that we should give our parents grace even at our old age, right? Like, I look at my dad, I'm like, man, you were a good dad, but you was a trash man, daddy. Like, and I tell him stuff like
Yeah.
that, like joking. I'm like, man, I'm making sure I'm like skipping over them potholes when I like meet men or whatever. And he laughs and he's like, I know, like, he's like, but my kids know me. And for him, that's probably the best thing, because he didn't have his father left him. So like for him, his thing was, I want my kids to know who I am. Like, that's the only thing that matters to me is my kids. Like, married or not, my kids matter. For you was like, I want to make sure that these kids, and I go against the statistic. And I feel like even when you said that, I was like, oh, I'm finding the statistic of like, oh, only like the other side can be in this space of multimillionaires can like build something. And I think that's what I struggle with the most, like that I tend to sometimes self-sabotage, where I kind of keep putting myself in a position where I can't get there because there's a belief that I don't belong in these spaces. There's a belief that I don't
Mm.
belong, to be a leader or run a business, or I can't do it, like, so I think in essence, like, just circling, tying it up, like, what you said is so deep. It's like, I couldn't drop the ball in these other places. And I'm not going to allow, like, even, I know that hurts now, like, to be like, to hear that as a parent, like, oh, you weren't emotionally available. Or when I tell my dad, like, dad, like, you was a trash man. It probably hurts his feelings, like, I don't know. He doesn't express it. But like, at the end of the day, it's like, but dad, I still love you no matter what. Like, it's that feeling of like, you did the best. And I told my dad that, like, I forgive you for like sometimes saying things he was going to pay for my school, which he did not. He did not give me $1 towards books or anything in college. That's why I worked 3 jobs in college. And I was so mad and angry that my brothers seemed to get things easier. But I think what he always knew is that it would push me to become better, that I would be able to stand on my own, whether I have a man in my life or not. And I look at him, I'm like, dad, like, I'm grateful for you and I love you. Like, I know you did the best you could with what you had. And I tell him that so he knows not to feel guilty or feel bad about what he couldn't provide or the spaces that he lacked, because God has brought people or other men in my life that have filled those holes to like tell me of my work, to actually pull things out of me. So I feel like I have the full essence of what I desired from a father. Like, I get my dad and I get all these other different figures that come into my life to give me that. And I feel like the same for you, right? Like,
well, today's children, okay? Today's children are not in the same place of resilience that we were in, growing up. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, like, you and I are not the same age, but within a 10-year range of each other. But I'm just saying that, like, still that was different. So for today's children growing up, in the ways that we have attempted as parents to make a different kind of world for them, we were successful at making a different kind of world for them. However, inside of that different kind of world, it didn't include some of the resilience that we were taught through more hard times. And in that case, the ways that they're able to address their emotions and really speak up for themselves is 10 times better than things I was taught. Now they don't know necessarily what to do with it, and it's not always tactful. And it sometimes comes off as like spewing without reasonability. But at the same time, what I on this sabbatical, going back to that, what I am doing is I'm just owning, right? I can't go back and change the past for sure. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can own, I can say, okay, yes. And I will just sit here with you. Right? I can explain it to you. I can tell you why. That doesn't mean it's gonna help you feel better. And so we just gotta sit with it. But
Yeah.
also I gotta let you go. Because I've owned it, and I'll own it every time you bring it up. And we talked about it. And neither one of us absolutely because we can't go back and change it, there's nothing you can do but heal it through your own personal journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm down, hey, here's free therapy through this mechanism, and then I don't know, so in that case, I still have to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of like whatever they feel and think and what the past was and all that, like I still have to let go of the guilt. I still have to let go of the shame, because that's in my body. I can't control what's in their body. But in my body was the guilt, and in my body was the shame, and in my body was the I wish I coulda, shoulda, woulda, hated that was in my body. I have to, and that is what I'm separating. What's in your body versus what's in my body. You spoke about this, in terms of like, yeah, I've had some very challenging employee moments with different people. I've been a challenging boss in some sense, and I use the word challenging versus difficult because I am challenging you to be better, and I'm challenging you based off the level that I'm at. What I had to realize is that you ain't at the level that I'm at, and I'm not saying that to down anybody. I'm just saying you're not at the level that I'm at in personal development.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so dedicated to my personal development that, like, even if you give me the feedback, I ain't gonna say I'm gonna like it. I might have some feedback for the feedback, but I've learned, I've grown to understand how to move with people different, right? And I think that and I grow fast. So
Mm-hmm.
we could have a conversation today, and then it'd be uncomfortable, and then next week I'm like, okay, I got it. You know what I mean? Like let's okay. So I think that if I can only do what's in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge thing for me. Also, that means setting boundaries. Also deciding what I'm gonna take and not gonna take. And letting that be, right? Because I think like going back to accessibility and being like, oh no, I'm going to this event, I gotta stay in here all day because I might meet somebody, the person that I'm looking for, I need the money, I need the that kind of thing. Well, now I'm like, okay, but what is my body saying?
Mm-hmm.
If my body is saying it's time to go, it's time to go. I can't push to the other side of that no more. I'm not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not there. If my body's
Because
like,
even
girl,
think about like all the times you have pushed to the other side.
oh my God. All the times I did was wild. Like I would not advise anybody to work at the level that I have worked to obtain what I've obtained. Now, don't get me wrong. If you look at the outcome, it was, I have obtained what I've obtained.
Yeah.
Right. And now I want to work different. But going back to something that you said, I don't, and you notice, and we talk about this, from time to time. I don't see myself as the way that people see me. So a lot of times I'm like, I'm still just trying to make it.
Yeah.
But
When you have made it, it's like
I
you're
made it
there.
somewhere.
You're
Maybe where I
there.
made it, yeah, I'm there. I'm there where I am where I'm at, where I am. But I also have learned during the sabbatical to stop leveling myself, the worst part of me by somebody else that's all worst part of them. So for example, I'm saying, oh, well, you know what? I'm still working on my finances. You know what I mean? I make what I make, but I'm still like, making sure I still I owe taxes. You know what I mean? Like I'm still like trying to figure it out. So then now I meet somebody who their whole life is trying to figure it out. Now me trying to figure it out is like this big. They're trying to figure it out is like this big. And I'll be like, oh yeah, we the same. We not the same.
Now you gotta do the non-slim.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nah, Slim, we not the same. You know what I'm saying? So I am now visiting. Why do I do that? Why do I
I
do
think
that?
it's the relatability. I think because like you want to make, I don't know, and this is just me. I don't know. I'm just talking. Here we go. I'm gonna let this flow. But maybe it's just like the relatability. Like, can I relate to someone? Because for so long you feel like you've been shunned. Like even like, growing up
Mm,
or whatever. It's like I don't relate to nobody. Like you were.
mm,
I hate to say this, but you were like the way you think, and I tell you this all the time. Like regardless of how people perceive you, like your brain is different. Like you are super intelligent, right? Like people don't even know like the tech stuff that you have, like all the background that you have. Some people don't even understand that, but you always have not been so relatable where you like, I could fit into just any crowd, right? So if someone has, you have this little bit like, oh yeah, like I make what I make, but my finances sometimes gotta, sometimes I gotta do right and better. And someone's like, man, my finances, my relationship, and all that, like, and you're like, I can relate to you, like, oh, I can relate to you you can relate on this level, while it's like this much here, but at the same time, it's like, oh, like I can relate to you, and I got you, like, in your heart, regardless, it's
mm,
like I got you. So then you're taking on this extra burden from the people trying to fit into the space when it's like, nah, you can really be over here, like, and still be with the other percentage that all have just this much that they're trying to figure out versus you engulfing yourself in the space where it's draining more of you than you need to be. Where you start being like, well, maybe this ain't right with me, and like you start picking up their vibe.
mm.
Like I don't know, where that
No,
came
I
from, but
think
I'm gonna
that's
say
right. No, I think that's 100% accurate, and I think that there is well, nobody helped me. Nobody saw me. So if I want to see you, I want to help you because nobody helped me. You know what I mean? And
mm-hmm,
and don't get me wrong, people helped me, but I mean, like, it wasn't like somebody saw me, picked me up, and dusted me off. It was like, yes, elevate. And so I'm like, I want people to feel seen because I didn't always feel seen. I want people to feel heard because I didn't always feel heard. I want people to feel like they belong because I didn't always feel like I belong.
mm-hmm,
So I think that, like, in that, I think that's a world where I still am that, but I
mm-hmm,
also don't have to make you like me in order to do it, or me like you in order to do it. I still can see you. I still can hear you. I
mm-hmm,
still can, offer up my platform, whatever I could do. But we don't have to be a light to do it, because sometimes I'm way lowering myself, especially in
mm-hmm,
romantic relationships, and I'm accepting way less than I deserve. And I'm giving, one of my cousins was saying this, giving way more empathy than necessary. It's like over empathizing.
oh, I do the same thing. Oh,
Like, why am I over empathizing? Like, I'm giving you way more empathy than you actually deserve. Oh, don't worry about it. We can, when in the beginning of, like, not the beginning, but what a while back, not now, when I was dating, the 80-20 rule, there's 20% the person may not have, and they
yeah,
may have 80%. I had the whole thing off. I would be like, I'm bringing 80%, so all I need you to bring is 20.
20. That math don't math. That's
The
not
math
right.
ain't mathing. The math ain't mathing on that. Nah. So I had to shift how I'm thinking about it and be like, nah, I actually need somebody else to bring. If we only bring in 80, then you bring 80. And I have not held other people accountable for that. I honestly have not held other people accountable for much other than work. And even holding people accountable for work is because I'm trying to get something done. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it unless you do your part. That's also a difference in the separation and leadership. Is that, like, whole time I'm thinking I've been operating as I'm trying to get something done, and I need you to just do your part.
Yeah.
Now it's like, nah, you got to be trying to get something done for the sake of this larger mission that is overarching throughout everybody's job here at Black Girl Ventures, and we all trying to get something done because it needs to be done for our community. that was, I knew that, but I wasn't operating like that.
Mm,
You know what I
that's
mean?
good.
I wasn't operating like that. Yeah, no. I'm thinking like, hey, I'm gonna take care of the whole bike. You just put your spoke on there right quick. Come on. Put your spoke on there the best way you can put your spoke on there. I got the rest. You got the one pedal? Just bring that one pedal, and that's not how you run like a collaborative team.
Like, bring your bike. Let's ride together. Like, bring your bike over
Hey,
here. Like,
and
let's
then
just
you
ride
fix your bike,
together.
I'm gonna fix
Like,
mine.
exactly.
Okay, and that's how we win the race. That's where I'm at now. So that I would say that is, and I'm that way romance now too. I'm like, look, you bring your bike, I'm gonna bring mine. Oh, you don't got no bike? Your bike ain't got no wheels on it. You got one wheel. Your tire flat, bruh.
And go fix that tire. Come back.
Come
Come back
on,
when you fix that. Like,
come on
hey.
now. Not no more. I'm good. Usually, I would. I'm like, oh, let me help you fix your tire. Oh, you can't afford to plug your tire? I'll just buy you a new tire. It's okay. It'll be fine. Just bring me back later. Like, yeah, I'm done with that.
In the bike on the dating, I am hollering. That's actually funny. You got a flat tire? Oh, let me plug your bike. Let me plug your.
You don't even got a bike. You need me to you need to ride while I pedal. Oh
You only
hell,
coming with spokes to ride on the back? Nah, bruh.
nah, Slim. I can't. Not any. I'm not there. I used to be there though.
This is
Cause
a
you know
whole nother
why? Because I'd be
episode.
like, cause this is what I would be doing. I'd be like, oh, my bike is dirty. So if you don't got a wheel, that's cool. Cause my bike is dirty. Oh my bike ain't the cutest. So you got a flat tire, cool, whatever. I had a flat tire last week. You know what I
But
mean?
it
Like,
function, and theirs don't function.
so I'm done. It's a wrap. Now I'm leaving voice notes. Hey, I really appreciate how you brought your bike to the race, even though even though it didn't have a tire on it. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate at least how you at least you bought that one wheel and the bike itself. However, I deserve somebody that got two wheels working extra speed on their bike. You know what I'm saying? They riding cross country, they doing Tour de France on their bike. That's the bike person I deserve. So remember back in the day when they used to do, I don't know if you remember this, but they used to do that
Whoa.
voice command where it's like, hi, I made some changes in my life. I recently made some changes. And if I
Ah,
can call you back, you're one of those changes.
one.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm there with everything and everybody. Hey, I'm making some changes. I'm
Ooh.
making some changes in my life. And if you don't get a call back, you might be one of those changes. Okay.
Tears. This has taken a complete turn, guys.
Girl, okay, we gotta end this episode. So anyway,
Yes, we do.
thank you, Shaniece, for that conversation. This is so real, and I love you, and I just
Love you
appreciate
too.
you. I'm so glad that we get to be in each other's lives and watch each other win and all those things. But yeah, child, I'm over it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
over
this is what happens. This is what happens off camera. I promise.
it. This is how we really be talking.
Ooh, man, break after the break.
The break. There you go. And this is break before you break.
Break before you break.
Hmm.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank
I
you for
appreciate you too.
having me on and spending this time with me while you're on sabbatical.